Welcome back to Live Now from Fox, and you're taking a look at some video of the devastation left behind after Category 5 Hurricane Beryl devastated parts of the Caribbean. It is now moving across the eastern Caribbean with its sights now set on Jamaica, which will begin to feel Beryl's impacts early tomorrow morning. I do want to bring in Michael Brennan, who is the director of the National Hurricane Center, to talk more about this truly historic storm. Michael, what can you share with us? What's the latest?
Well, Beryl's an extremely powerful Category 5 hurricane this morning, still with a very well-defined eye. You see this very classic satellite presentation. Maximum sustained winds are 165 miles per hour still. We do think that Beryl has probably peaked in intensity, and those maximum winds are going to start to come down as we go through the next day or two, but still expecting a very powerful hurricane to be moving across the Caribbean. Most concerned about Jamaica, as you mentioned, tomorrow, expecting the center of Beryl to move near or over the island with the potential for, devastating wind damage, significant life-threatening storm surge, very heavy rainfall, and then farther downstream impacts in the Cayman Islands, Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and perhaps the Gulf of Mexico as we get into later this weekend and early next week.
You and I were speaking on Sunday about the historic nature of this hurricane. It was a Category 4 storm at that time. It is now a Cat 5 storm. Can you talk about the significance of just how early this Category 5 hurricane has formed in this area of the Atlantic?
Yeah, this is the earliest formation of a Category 5 hurricane we've seen on record in our database in the Atlantic Basin that goes back to the 1850s, beating the previous record, which was Hurricane Emily in 2005, by about 2 weeks. That formed in mid-July. But getting Category 4 or 5 hurricanes in June or July is very, very unusual in the Atlantic. But we're seeing those very warm ocean temperatures, 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. That's providing the fuel for the storm. But the atmospheric conditions were obviously very favorable for Beryl to be able to take advantage of those warm ocean temperatures. But the good news is those atmospheric conditions are going to become a little less favorable, and maybe a lot less favorable over the next couple of days, hopefully leading to some weakening, but still expecting, again, a lot of impacts from Beryl over the next few days.
We already know there is one reported death in direct relationship with Beryl. Now that it's making its way to Jamaica, how seriously do residents there need to take these warnings?
Yeah, I mean, very seriously. I mean, we're expecting a Category 3, Category 4 hurricane impact. You can see our track forecast brings the center of Beryl near or right over Jamaica during the day tomorrow. So you have today to get ready in Jamaica. In terms of the timing of arrival of those tropical storm force winds, expecting them to begin in the early morning hours tomorrow. So by tonight, you're going to want to be in your safe place in Jamaica. We're very concerned about storm surge in places like Kingston on the south coast, where, again, we could see up to 6 feet of storm surge above normal tide levels with devastating wave action on top of that. So it could be a very dangerous situation. Also looking at the potential for up to 12 inches of rainfall in portions of Jamaica, which could lead to flash flooding as well.
And Jamaica, of course, being an island, flooding is a major concern. You had a slide with the trek, the anticipated trek of Hurricane Beryl. Can you share more with us as the days progress where this storm is expected to go next?
Yeah, so after it moves near or over Jamaica, it's going to pass near the Cayman Islands Wednesday night and early Thursday, and then approach the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico Thursday night and Friday, and then move into the Gulf of Mexico. The forecast becomes a lot more uncertain out here by the time we get into the weekend, with the potential for the steering currents to weaken a little bit. The storm's likely to slow its forward motion. It could make a little more of a westward turn towards the coast of Mexico, more of a northward turn toward Texas. But again, we are expecting it to be a tropical storm by that time. There's a lot of potential for land interaction. The environment becomes less favorable for the system to be as strong, certainly, as it is now, but certainly could see some impacts, especially from heavy rainfall, and certainly some wind impacts, some storm surge impacts as well in portions of the western Gulf Coast. Just something everybody there is going to need to keep an eye on. We'll know a lot more in another day or two once the storm passes Jamaica, gets into those less favorable atmospheric conditions, and we'll see how much land interaction the system has with the Yucatan Peninsula as well as we go through the next few days.
So are parts of it looks like possibly southern Texas, might regions of southern Texas be impacted? You mentioned it's going to be likely downgraded to a tropical system at that point. Flooding still an issue, but folks there do probably need to just pay heed to all of the latest information.
Yeah, especially, we're going into a holiday weekend here in the United States. People may be sort of tuned out a little bit, but everybody in South Texas, coastal Mexico down here is going to want to make sure they're checking in on the forecast as we go through Independence Day and into the holiday weekend, and make sure they have the latest updates and can get their information and listen to any advice they're given by their local officials as we go into the weekend and into early next week.
Michael, before we let you go, one last question. I know that we've been talking about Beryl. This is the significant hurricane happening right now, forming right now. We've been talking about the Atlantic waters, the temperature being as hot as it would typically be in August. As we look forward, we're in the very beginning of hurricane season. We still have months to go. Do people need to be prepared? And I know the forecast is for an active season, but when we hear that, do we need to brace for potentially catastrophic storms? Is that the likelihood as we see these water temperatures extremely warm?
Well, there's always that possibility, but it's more than just the ocean that results in these very powerful hurricanes. As we mentioned with Beryl, the atmosphere has to be favorable as well. We are expecting favorable atmospheric conditions overall for the formation of tropical storms and hurricanes. We are expecting a very busy season. We don't know where those storms are going to form, exactly how strong they're going to get, but everybody in the United States and the Caribbean, along those hurricane-prone areas has to be ready, have to be able to put that action plan in place. An important thing to note is, some of the strongest hurricanes that hit the United States form much closer to the U.S. in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas. And we don't always have this long lead time like we have with Beryl, storms forming out over the tropical Atlantic. So that's why people have to have that hurricane plan in place, be able to put it into action within just a few days.
That's incredibly important advice. We have been getting days of this trek. And as you mentioned, that does not always happen. Michael, thank you so much. I know that you're very busy. We appreciate you giving us the very latest update as Beryl continues to make its way to Jamaica. Thank you.
Thanks.
And this is another live look at the XRAD radar as we continue to follow the path of Hurricane Beryl as it churns in the Atlantic, making its way to Jamaica, a Category 5 hurricane. This is truly historic because Beryl is now the earliest Category 5 hurricane on record in the Atlantic. And you were just hearing from Michael Brennan, who is the director of the National Hurricane Center, talking about how important it is to prepare well ahead of time. This is unusual, as he said, because many times we do not get days in advance that a massive hurricane is going to be heading towards certain areas. So very important. Don't be scared, but be prepared, as the motto is saying. Make sure you have all of your emergency supplies, as we are just in the very beginning of the hurricane season. It is expected to be a very active one. And as any indication, as you can see, Beryl churning, it is likely to continue. We are going to step away for a 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. Much more after that. Stay with us.